Propagate, this light just popped in the room, and Propagate is the one that did my intro. So
yeah, he's a smooth brother.
yeah, he does great work. So if you guys ever need any stuff like that done, he's really good at it.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Hi, I'm Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and I'm the host of the Dark Wolf's Den Show, and you're listening to our buddy Exclusive RS.
Propagate the Light is here.
Huh?
Propagate this light is here. I said I love Quaker.
This light, yes. Don't get it twisted. However, that is a Mandela affected name, if you ask me.
I watched Propagate the Light. Shouts out to him. He did a little show yesterday, and he was kind of saying, like, he was basically saying we're going to be careful what we say because, you know, we can turn people's days around and make them feel bad. And I agree. So I think if you're not kind of one of the people that can see all this stuff and, you know, it makes you unhappy hearing it, you probably should tune out. This is probably not for you.
We got Propagate this light.
God is the source of the energy.
What is good? This is your band Propagate. As you already know, the nameplate is down at the bottom of the avatar, which is my face. Thank you for being in tune to our vibration. Doro Kiley is here. Also, Skook will be in the green room pretty soon. And once again, thank you. And I'm going to go ahead and bring out my guest, Doro Kiley. Doro Kiley, come on out from the green room. Doro Kiley.
Hello. Yeah, I'm Doro Kiley, and I'm a life coach with CreationCoach.com. Thanks for the invitation, and it's good to be back.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to meeting Skook. Her YouTube channel looks interesting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. You know, I checked it out more than a couple of times, and I've had her on previous broadcasts, as a lot of people already know. And yeah, you know, we have a good setup here, you know, and I thank y'all for being in tune with me, you know. So you're helping me to make the broadcast what it is. Appreciate you.
Oh, well, I appreciate you. Thanks. You know, I would like to ask you a couple questions. Is that out of bounds, or is that permissible?
Oh yeah, definitely. Go ahead. It's all good.
Yeah, the name of the channel is very interesting, and so I'm wondering what inspired you to come up with the title, the Mandela Effect, and all this. You've obviously must have had some experiences. Can you share some of that real quick and give me a sense of who you are?
So you're referring to the name of the channel and the Mandela Effect?
Yeah. Well, Mandela Effect. Yeah, I think I'd like to hear your stories. I mean, I know what it is, and I'm interested in hearing what you have to say about it.
Oh yeah, I appreciate that. So the name of the channel, just real quick, I won't be too long-winded. You know, I have to come up with a name that fit what I'm doing now, because previous to this, you know, I was online, and I kind of you know, garnered an audience through Facebook, but I went by a different name. the name Meta was a part of that name. So if you watch any of my earlier broadcasts here on the channel, I say my name is Propagate This Light, aka Meta, META. So I'm just going by Propagate This Light. Pretty much it is what it is. It's me spreading the light of others and myself, and when I promote what I do, you'll see my name right next to it. Propagate This Light, and then you'll have the link, so it's kind of like that. And yeah, positivity, from myself and from other people as well.
Yeah, I'm feeling that you're doing a good work here, really spreading the light, and that the subjects are fascinating. So have you had sort of these paranormal experiences, like out of the body or anything like that you can share with me?
Yes, I have a lot of out of body experiences. This one time I ended up in a mock of my neighborhood that I was staying in at the time. If anything else, I probably would have thought it was a dream if I recalled it after I woken from it. But I've become aware within it, and I realized that whoa, like, where am I? When I asked the question, where am I, an answer came to me that filled my whole body, and the answer was the astral plane. Now, I experienced some things, but just through when I came back here, whatever here is, in my bed, I recalled that name, the astral plane. All I knew was that a plane is what flies in the sky. So I went to the internet, I typed in astral plane, I read the definition, and man, my mouth dropped because I'm like, oh, wow, that's where I was at. And not to repeat the words exactly what it said, because I don't recall, I haven't looked at it in a while, the definition, but it pretty much said that I was in the spiritual realm, and that's where I was at when I was there. So some of the things that happened, just real quick, I was talking to this woman that lived there, and I knew that I knew her format because she was coming home from work or whatever, and it was nighttime in this neighborhood that I used to stay in. This is where it all took place at. So I started talking to her, I walked her to her house. I don't know her, didn't know her, but it was an actual woman that actually does that. That's all that I know. I haven't met her in what people will call real life, but the astral realm is real life as well. I think all of it is just tied in with each other. But anyhow, just real quick, I was talking to her, and I think I was trying to kind of get to know her while she was at her door. And I don't recall what I said to her, but she said, yeah, and with that blue glow around your body. And I looked down at my hand, and then that's the moment where I became very conscious, and I just kind of like woke up there. And as I was becoming aware of what was going on, I started being taken upward into the sky backwards slowly. And so I started moving away from her. Next thing you know, I'm in the sky. And I somehow turned around, and man, oh man, I seen what was pulling me up that way. What I call it is a vortex, And so I seen the description of what it looked like, and I recall what it looked like till this day, And I got taken into it. And the next thing you know, I ended up back in my bed. So that's one of my experiences out of body.
That's amazing. That's pretty. So that sounds like that was life altering for you, and it certainly would be for me. That's profound. So how long ago was that? Did you say?
Yeah, I didn't say how long ago that was, so my fault on that. But this was some years ago. I would just give or take maybe 11 years, 10 years, something like that.
Yeah. So did that sort of start your journey of looking more deeply into all the astral phenomenon, parallel realities, and things like that?
I've always had interest in like sci-fi, ever since I could remember. But that wasn't the first experience. I've had experiences throughout my life, going back to when I was a child. I used to dream about future events before they happened, and I just didn't understand what that was. So
Really?
yeah.
So you had some psychic abilities as a child. I do believe most children are born with, they're just fresh out of the ethers, and they still have that connection to the world before they were born. And I think it takes a lot to train that out of a child. Usually by the age of 6, they've forgotten it all. But it's pretty interesting, the stories that you hear. I know my grandson had, when I was driving him to daycare in the mornings, he would sometimes tell me stories, and I was just amazed. He said, "Oh yes, well, I remember when I died and somebody hit me and I fell off a rock and hit my head and I didn't live anymore." And it's like coming out of the mouth of a 4-year-old is just like, wow, that's that's interesting. So yeah, children, I think, are very, very connected still, usually. So it's fascinating. What else have you learned about, where did that experience kind of take you? Did that take you into more investigations?
Yeah, eventually, in my teenage years, of course, when you're going through these things, it just happens, or at least with me, it just happened. A lot of my out of body experiences were happening, and I was becoming conscious after I have just gotten back into my body, and I've become aware at that moment. And I just didn't know what was going on. I would kind of panic, you know, and I've had different things happen throughout my life. So I would say with the invention of the internet, I was able to, go research some things. I was led to a certain direction to research, and then that's where it started off. If that makes any sense. A
Yeah.
certain topic under the esoteric subject. I was led to that, and then it just went from there. And that particular topic was dealing with metaphysics. So I started off with metaphysics.
Yeah, yeah. This town that I live next to here, they have a kind of a metaphysics college, sort of. It's a group that's been there for years, and that's what they do. They study metaphysics. But I guess that's all over the place now. The most famous one that I'm aware of is the Monroe Institute, and I think it's located here in Virginia, studying metaphysics. And they're based on Robert Monroe's book, I guess, that came out back in the 60s. The 60s? Yeah. Journeys Out of the Body. And then that just opened up a whole plethora of questions, and the whole institute, the Monroe Institute, was started as a result. That's my understanding. So yeah, there's a lot we don't see. I think the physical expression is the last expression of vibration, and I've been watching a series of shows on Gaia called The Sound of Creation, As Above, So Below. And when, just kind of generally speaking, in the beginning, there was nothing, right? Just nothing. And then things started to move, and then there was a vibration. And so that's where it all starts, right? So in the beginning, there was the word, and that vibration started to create sound. And then out of sound, if you've ever studied cymatics, which is just an amazing science, I'm sure you've seen that you can put a metal plate with a kind of a vibrating motor under it and sprinkle sand on the plate, and then turn the vibration up or down, and it will create different patterns. The sand will move around into different mandala shapes. And so the idea being that vibration is what creates sound first and then begins to create form. And it's a great thing to study. Oh, and one thing I learned last night, in fact, was that an embryo, just a millimeter big, just beginning to get some definition of a spinal cord, at the same time, the first thing that develops is the inner ear. And it's almost as if we are made to interface with vibration. Sound is the only thing we have in the womb. Well, we have the feeling of pressure and movement and muscle, but we have no vision, we have no taste or smell. Our hearing is fully developed. In fact, they say that hearing has 3 or 30 times, I don't know, a lot more receptors to the brain than the eyes do. Surprisingly, the ears can discern more exactly differences in sound better than the eyes can discern differences in colors. So it's a great series. I highly recommend it. The Sound of Creation series on Gaia. It's fantastic. So yeah, I believe we all come out of vibration, and then the fat, or the more dense the vibration, the more solid things become. So the question is clearly what is causing the vibration, and then as you go farther into that plane of thinking, you can see it's the mind. The mind is creating the vibrations. So that little witness behind all of our eyes seeing what's going on is the mind, and that's creating our reality. So I don't want to lose anybody, but that's one of my favorite subjects. Yeah.
Okay, I'll top on that. So the mind. So what do you think the mind is? I always thought that the mind was the brain, but the brain's the brain. So where's the mind at? What do you think?
The mind is the creator. It's the number one. It's the thing. Now, my understanding, and I want to be clear, that this is me. This is the way I perceive the world, and I've put all of these bits and pieces together through decades of studying and curiosity and traveling, following great spiritual teachers, and studying quantum physics and string theory. By the way, my favorite documentary for quantum theory and string theory is The Elegant Universe by Brian Greene. Can't top that. It is so perfect. It was based on a book that he wrote, but the video is fantastic. So yeah, I don't know. It's just fascinating, the whole science. Quantum theory has brought us to, and now we've got quantum computing. And I see the mind is the spirit. I think the mind is undefinable ultimately, because it's like one way of describing it is the eye looking for itself. It can't see itself out there. Even looking in a mirror, it's not really the eye. So you can't really see yourself. You can see a reflection of yourself. And so that, whatever it is that's seeing it is the mind. And then the brain and all the wirings with the emotional body can make up infinite stories. And my definition of reality is, if you're thinking something and you believe it, that starts to become part of your reality. And the more people whose minds you can sort of get to buy in on that idea or that story, more and more people who believe in it, it will come pretty quickly. It will manifest. So yeah, the mind is the creator. That's for me, that's the bottom line. And beyond that, nothing is real. Everything is our stories that we choose to believe in. And the more we believe, the more solid it becomes. The more you believe
Right.
it.
So to summarize, what you're saying is that the mind is the spirit, and is connected to the brain, which makes up stories. And then you make up a story, you believe it, it becomes true to you, and you put the story out there to other people. Then their brain will take it in as a story, and then you say it. You keep it going. It's kind of like a repetitive thing, like when you learn your numbers, your ABCs. you don't just learn it in one go. You keep repeating it, and then
Yeah.
till you believe it, till you have it.
Yeah, yeah, it's interesting. It's a
So
fascinating study.
okay, so let's rewind a little bit, back to when I was telling you that when I came in tune to my abilities when I was younger. There's this one incident that happened. I want to hear what you think about it, if that's okay with you.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to school. I don't know what age I was, maybe let's say about 5 or 6. So I'm walking to school. I have a lunch pail and there's a cartoon on it. So the cartoon is a family with a dog. It's a man, a woman, a boy, and a dog. So I'm walking with the lunch pail to school, and something moved me to just look at the lunch pail. So I held it up and looked at it, and guess what happened? the the dog on the lunch pail is literally running around in a circle, happy, chasing his tail. The man is moving around. The woman's they're animated on the lunch pail.
You know, that's fascinating because that's when you're little like that, you know, the mind is so alive. I remember we had a fire going in the fireplace in my family. We were just kind of hanging around, and I was gazing into the fire's embers. And I saw a real live pirate battle going on in the ocean. I mean, it was just sparks and cannon fire, and it was real. It was as real as watching TV. But it was just all taking place in the embers of the fire. It's so amazing. And the imagination of a child is phenomenal. I remember getting so lost in my pretend games, you know, that I was, you know, going down in a submarine. I mean, you can almost feel what it is to when you're stepping into your imagination. It was, for me, it was real. So yeah, I think that might be what your experience was, that you saw it and it was real. It was moving. Would you say that's what you were seeing? Your
Oh yeah,
imagination?
definitely.
Yeah.
I mean, definitely, I saw it, and it was real to me. I wasn't asleep. No one can say I was on drugs because I was like 5 or 6, Um, and no one could say it was technology because this was back in the 70s. And you know what? I'm curious of what Skook has to say. Skook is in the green room right now. We think about bringing Skook out here.
Great. Yeah, let's bring her in.
All right, gentlewomen and men, I reintroduce to you on my channel once again. Skook of Skook's Strange World. Skook, come on out from the green room. Skook, here we go.
Hello.
Hi, Skook.
Nice to meet you, Doro.
Nice to meet you.
My mother's name was Dorothy, so you're just half of my mom.
Yeah, my real name is Dorothea, and that's Spanish.
That's a German version of Dorothy, I think.
I thought it was Spanish, but anyway, yeah, it's nobody calls me that except the IRS, you know. So
well,
it's just Doro.
I know my mother used to go by Dot when she was quite young.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
Not when she got older.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, it is a pleasure to meet you.
Yeah. So tell me what your YouTube channel is all about. It looked really interesting.
Well, I have 3 actually. One that has my stories that I write for children generally, or just stories. One that is a tarot channel. Then I have my Strange World, which is all about all the weirdness that I grew up learning about from my family and in the world in general. My mother was very ahead of her time. I grew up with Monroe's book in the house.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, and I've experienced so many strange things. I don't have conscious out of body, although I think I have the lucid dreams that are like an out of body thing sometimes, because I'll be in some other house walking around in the dark in someone else's home. I don't know who I'm haunting. I have no idea. have had dreams where I saw my sister who's passed in some kind of lifetime or reality that is Victorian time. She was in a train. And I was just thinking, and I'm reading several books. I don't know if you're like me. I have like 5 books I'm reading at the same time. That realities, that there is multiple present, there's multiple past, and there's multiple future. And our perceptions could be focusing in whatever one our energy aligns with. So keeping your energies higher will actually, I mean, you probably think I'm nuts, will actually improve your past.
Oh no, I totally get it. Absolutely, yeah. I'm on board with that.
Well, he's in trouble now. He's got us 2 on here.
No, it does. Yeah.
But, and multiple presence. I mean, I know Cynthia Sue. I know her. She's lovely. She talks about how good can it get. Well, you know, there's been lots of spiritual icons that have talked about this, about how we can raise our energies and create better outcomes in our present life and our future life, and possibly in our past as well. And I know that time doesn't exist except in our perceptions. It helps us to get to work on time. That's basically what it's for. But I noticed you were talking about children and how they are preternaturally able to remember things that we later on do not. There was a little boy that I have an occupational therapy assistant degree, and I was in my field work, and I worked with this little boy, adorable little boy. I don't know if he's on the spectrum or whatever, but I helped them with perceptual skills and homework and handwriting and that sort of thing. And he says that made some mention about how he liked his parents in his other life better. And I'm just like, it was tempting to, grill him about that, but it was inappropriate due to my position at that time.
That's
but
great.
It's like,
yeah, some kids are really connected. That's neat. Do you have children yourself that you kind of experienced it yourself? I know my kids used to talk about.
I've had several past lives, obviously. I know 2 in India, and 1 in China, at least. I had some that a dear friend of mine who's passed that I was with her in India at least one time. I had a past life progression done, or regression. I don't know what you want to call it, right? And first thing she says, where did all these fairies come from that were in the room? I said, they're mine.
My entourage. Yeah.
I think they came over with my Irish or Scottish family to America. They're hereditary fairies. There is an unseen realm, and as we raise in our vibration, that veil between these other dimension stuff is going to get a little thinner, and those of us who are perceptive are going to notice things happening.
That's fascinating. I've actually done talks on that. So everything you're saying.
Of course, you're my soul sister.
I believe we are, truly. I mean, I'm also my degree was in occupational therapy, so we're right.
Oh well, goodness sakes!
I worked in the school system, and so fascinating.
And have you noticed that these kids on the spectrum are remarkable?
They really are. Yeah, they really are, and
their perceptiveness is in a different way.
Mm-hmm.
And so they have a hard time interfacing with the way we perceive things. And it's like, it's amazing how many people that are occupational therapists or other therapists kind of miss the whole thing. They don't seem to understand that these children, there's some that are really, really severely nonverbal and stuff, but even they have some kind of quality of spirit that it's just, I don't know how to describe it.
I knew
It's like
one child.
there's something sacred about their spirit. I mean, I don't know how to put it.
Yeah,
You want to know what I mean?
Yeah. I had one kid who talked, but he was talking always backwards. Everybody thought he was talking gibberish.
Oh my goodness.
Until somebody realized he was just talking backwards.
How could anybody do that?
How does the brain do it? Yeah. I don't know. It's fascinating.
So our brains, you have to realize that the brain is also it's a physical thing as well as an electronic and vibrational thing. We are a interesting combination of spirit and physical and dimensional, I guess is the best word to put it. And that's why when you think and speak the words, I always say I have spoken the words, and that's what 𝗧cie𝗽𝗶𝗰𝘀 used to say. And my great grandmother I know she was a follower of her. And if you don't know much about her, look up, go to the library and borrow a book or borrow an ebook or something, because it's fascinating.
What was the name? I'll write it down. What is it?
𝗧cie𝗽𝗶𝗰𝘀. Let me write down her name.
Yeah.
In the other chat.
While you do that,
my mother was sorry, Prop. My mother was into Madame Blavatsky, if you've heard of her. She was a real card. But yeah, sorry, Prop, I cut you off. So you said that was Florence.
Here we go.
Yeah.
𝗧cie𝗽𝗶𝗰𝘀. I have a couple of her books. She was the first one who actually, she and Edgar Cayce, I think they're contemporaries. And so there was this, as you know, in the 1860s, 70s, there was a spiritual revival, if you will, back east. It was a big deal. All kinds of religions were created. All kinds of spiritual gurus popped up. Lots of mediums, lots of spiritual woo-woo stuff. A lot of con men too. I mean, you always have to deal with that. So you have this very rich interest in spiritual things, mostly because of the Civil War and people having lost so many family members. It was just, they were looking for some kind of solace, some kind of comfort. And the spiritual connection to the other side was very, very interesting and lucrative and tempting. So we have this climate that started, I think, America. Well, I think England was doing it before us, but really started us to getting into this new age kind of thinking, they call it. Typical of 𝗧cie𝗽𝗶𝗰𝘀 was, here's a quote, "The game of life is a game of boomerangs. Our thoughts, deeds, and words return to us sooner or later with astounding accuracy."
That sounds like karma to me.
Well, yeah, she just was very eloquent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
She has the book, The Game of Life and How to Play It, which I do believe I have on one of the computer that my son has to get the information off of. But I mean, it is, if you see it as a game, or I thought life is like a simulation. Maybe that's before she knew about that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's fascinating. I'm gonna check her out.
Well, yeah. She you can't control any situation if you first. You can control any situation if you first control yourself. I mean, she was really into self-actualization,
Yeah, that's huge. I'm realizing more and more. In fact, I recently read somewhere a concept that the whole idea of returning to unity is for everyone to be their most authentic self. So the orchestra can really play. And when the song is perfect, we go back into unity. So everybody has to become their perfect, authentic, real self, and I struggled with this all my life, really. I got to be somebody. What do I want to be? And it wasn't until after all the kids are grown, everybody's gone, no more responsibilities, I'm doing okay. And suddenly I'm just like, I'll just be me. How about that? And that's a novel idea. I don't have to be anybody.
Well, as Oscar Wilde says, be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Is taken. I've heard that before. Yeah.
Another remarkable man that was discriminated against in his lifetime because of his sexual preferences.
Oh yeah.
Brilliant man. Absolutely.
Yeah.
In our attempts to become our authentic self, we have to learn who we are.
Exactly.
And that's hard because you have enculturation, you have your family upbringing, you have, your country, you have all these things that are telling you what you are. And you have to figure that out yourself.
Yeah. The way I have tended to navigate that unpredictable trail is through meditation. I find that because I've been meditating, since off and on since I was a teenager. But meditation is a practice of letting go. I mean, that's really all it is letting go of the thoughts that keep arising, letting go of the attachment to things, people, places, activity, just going into total silence. And things that stick that you have a hard time getting rid of, those are your working points. That's who you are in that moment. And if you continue letting go, eventually you're able to, and I know this, is that because you just said it, really, the more you release, the higher you and more expansive you can become, and gain more access to a broader perspective, I would say. Yeah, and start to see things in a much more universal or even galactic way. I know you know what I'm talking about. You're my sister. I hear you. Yeah. So getting rid of the attachments. They say you really can't attain full enlightenment if you haven't worked out your past. And it's not a judgment thing. It's just that the past keeps getting you hung up, and you haven't been able to go beyond it yet. So that's a good practice of letting go. Do you have any meditation experience, out of curiosity?
I do. I haven't been horribly good about that. I try at least to sit in my garden and just detach, but I do the Abraham Hicks meditations, which are very
She's
positive.
great. I've been following her since I think it was 95 I first learned about her.
She's pretty cool. And also Cynthia Sue Larson has some meditations that are quite nice. And so does David Wells, the psychic from England that did the Most Haunted stuff. He has some awesome meditations, guided meditations. There's one where you go and talk to your guides, and that was interesting.
Yeah. There's an app that I use called the Insight Timer, and it's got a lot of guided meditations. It's got a customizable setup where you can choose your own kind of meditation and ring a bell. And there's communities in there. You can join a group and find your favorite spiritual teachers for inspiration. So yeah, I always recommend that to my clients, the Insight Timer.
What's it called again?
Insight
Timer.
Insight Timer. Yeah, highly recommended. I'm actually thinking about doing some guided meditations and uploading them onto there. So that's possibly in the works.
I was listening to some. There's a group in Australia, has a big meditation group with all kinds of meditations, but I find it difficult to meditate to an Aussie accent. Just
yeah. Well, I'd be curious to know what I just asked Prop this question. What is your experience? So, what brought you into? I heard you say your mother was a very big influence on you, but what personal experiences have you had that really put you on this path?
Telepathic, empathic connections that I started experiencing when I was like 18, 19, 20. Weird things that my family would talk about at reunions that had happened to them. The whole family's all weird. And glitches in the matrix, of course, that I've experienced that are just freaky. And then the Mandela effect that I was at the end of my, I started school a little late. I was at the end of my field work. And I graduated and everything. And I didn't get my license because right then, it was just right before the pandemic hit. And something just told me, you're not going to get your license. And I was like, that sort of knocked me into the bummer area for a while after all that work. It's like, no, you're not going to be doing it. You already did what you were sent to do to help those particular children and people.
Wow.
All that just for the few people, really? Yeah. That's how important you are. That's how important an individual is.
That reminds me of a story of this one. It's stories that come out of India are so fascinating to me. There's a story of one guru, I guess. So a guru. Let's say a guru, and he was one day got on a train, went for days to the far side of the country, got out of the train, walked down the street, bumped into one man, and they had this brief exchange, and then he turned around, got back on the train, and went all the way back. And he said, "My life is complete. That's what I came for." Yeah, I mean, his whole life was for that, whatever that was about. So he was finished. His work was done. And so that's kind of what I hear you saying.
It reminds me of that little girl that I was doing therapy on, and I don't wish to speak ill of people, but the CI I had, she was going through a lot of stuff emotionally, a lot of personal stuff, and she wasn't being the most compassionate. Her energy was not good, okay? And the kids really didn't like her. And this one little girl had selective mutism. I'm sure you know what that is.
Mutism?
Selective mutism.
Selective, yes. Uh-huh.
Wouldn't talk. I had a son that wouldn't talk. He could, but he just didn't want to unless he felt he could trust the person, okay? The CI is busy talking to parents, so I get the kids. They're absolutely delighted to have just me. This little girl who's not been able to speak really more than a few brief words, I pick her up and she knows I'm by myself, and she starts talking to me. A blue streak from the time we get to our therapy, throughout the therapy, she does everything perfectly. She's happy. I take her back. And this is the kid that this CI said was mentally deficient. And I'm going, that's not the problem. You know how children have perceptual problems, right?
Yeah.
Well, she was like in kindergarten or first grade, and they all made pictures of Santa with poster paint, okay? They all obviously were given directions, and the whole class, they were all the same except for hers. It looked like Picasso did hers, okay? And the second I saw that, she's got visual perceptual problems. And this has been frustrating for her. And, people think she's stupid because she can't go from here to out there. Or, there's a disconnect, okay? And I was just wondering, how come I'm aware of all this and can see this and the CI can't? And she's been doing this for 30 years. I think it's a little bit weird that maybe I was just there for her.
Possible.
Because she's, and the CI, I told her, she says, her speech was not clear. It was garbled a little bit. And and the CI says, oh, good. She says, she doesn't even say, oh, good. She just says, oh, she'll have to have speech therapy again. Not any point of, oh, that's wonderful. The energy you carry in yourself, these children can notice it. And anybody who's an empath can notice it too.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And this is, something you need to remember, that if you find yourself really vibing low, do what you need to do to get it higher. Yeah. Whether it's if you need to get away from people for a little bit, do what you can. Because people like me, we just pick that stuff up and then it makes our day kind of crappy.
Exactly. I just did a video on that yesterday about how to raise our vibration, especially right now. There's so much bad news in the world. There's just a lot of separation going on. People are afraid and suspicious of each other and worried about being politically correct and everything else. And so there's this tension. So how do we raise it up? And I work with my clients on this about what kind of toolbox can we come up with. There's the right kind of music, and here we get back to the vibration, right? The vibration. If you can find a piece of music, and it's very personalized, find a piece of music that just puts you right there, right in the heart space, even to the point of when you're really in the heart, you can almost cry. And that's a space that we're not exercising very much in this culture right now. We're so inundated with watching TV and playing video games, and there's so much addiction to adrenaline, and that's a term used very often in coaching. Oh, I have a client who's adrenaline addicted. And that just means that they love the stress level that they're constantly feeding themselves, especially video games and, watching the news, doom scrolling, right? That was a good term that came up a couple of years ago. But so, yeah, the whole point of vibrating in these lower, fearful, threatening realms is keeping us down. And I think we need to find practices to uplift. And we can use, well, in the talk I did yesterday, I was talking about the autonomic nervous system, where we're stuck in this, what's called the sympathetic system. You know this from anatomy and physiology. So we're stuck in this system of fight and flight and freeze. And if we can't get out of it because we're stuck and addicted, that's a problem. That's a problem for us in our health. Our health is not good when we're stuck in that place. The body's not made to be stuck in this consistently challenging, stressful position. So how do we break out of that? And you could also call this lower energy part of the mammalian brain, right? That's the only part that the mammalian brain knows how to do, is survive and react. And there's no higher conscious awareness in that animal reptilian part of the brain. It's just all about survival. So we have forgotten, or no, we haven't forgotten, but we're just not practicing any exercises to bring that energy up. Beautiful music can do it. You remember the John Denver song? What was it called? Where it's just the sunshine
on my shoulders makes
there you
me
go.
happy.
There you go. I mean, that whole song, right, is all about love, just loving life, being the sky and the mountain. For some reason in our culture, that exercise of that energy is not encouraged much at all. And And I think personally, that's how we have to approach our evolution, is to exercise more than just the lower scary chakras. I mean, would you agree with that, or do you have a different perspective?
Well, the way I look at it, it's like the hierarchy of needs, the chakras, whatever, that we take care of our basic needs. We have to take care of our day-to-day stress. We have to take care of our needs for sleep and food and friends and whatnot, socialization. And if we take care of those, then we can kind of go up to do other things. But so self-care and self-love is like so important. And it is one of the hardest things to do in our society right now with so many stresses. I mean, I've had mild PTSD. I was in an abusive relationship many years. And there's a certain level of stress that I got used to. And you have to find some way to calm that down. I know there's vagus nerve exercises you can do that helps to calm the nervous system down. Some of them around your ears, some of them other places. And, so if you want to look on YouTube for vagus nerve stimulation or whatever, you'll find some interesting things. It's like it's the same thing that when you splash your face with ice cold water, it'll snap you out of that whatever it is that some kind of loop you've gotten into. I'll be honest with you, when my kids would get into having a tantrum, I sprinkle their face with some water, and all of a sudden they're not having a tantrum. Like, what was that?
Yeah.
And it's not hurtful, and they don't. It just sort of snaps them out of that loop they get into, because kids will get into this loop that just keeps escalating. They can't control. They don't have good emotional regulation.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. No, I had a son that was a tantrum thrower. You can't reason with them. It's there's only two approaches that I ever found dealing with a child with a tantrum. Some kids will respond if you just hold them and just give them a good tight security hold, right? They can calm. Some, not all. Some will start kicking harder. But the other thing to do, and this through working with special needs kids, is redirect them to something else. Like, oh, look over there, and so their attention is.
I would try everything. The water was the last resort.
It's not.
But it was just like, just how you have the wet fingers. It wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was like
Yeah. I've got a new practice at night. After I brush my teeth, I splash 3 times with freezing cold water and just before bed. And that just cleans out my whole brain, and I just go to bed. So that's a good way to do it. But yeah, you're right. Cold water will definitely put you in the moment.
So we have temperature that can either calm or excite. We have vibrations that can calm or excite. Probably colors as well. Yeah, we know about colors being that way. So sensorily,
yeah.
we are able to do a lot to help ourselves calm down and feel a little better.
Yeah. Exercise, running, walking. For me, meditation, it works. It would not work for somebody who's in a very hyper state, because there's an old saying that the time to learn how to swim is not during a hurricane. So the time to learn how to use meditation to get through difficult times is not when you're in the middle of a difficult time, if you haven't had a lot of practice already.
Well, I think that it's a good idea to calm down your nervous system to a certain point before you meditate, or find some kind of meditation that is not requiring concentration.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, great. Good one. So what else are you following? Are you following the whole Mandela effect, and what's your theory on that? What's all that about for you?
Well, I was saying after I found out I wasn't going to work in the field that I was home and I started looking at some stuff. I wasn't online much before that because I was busy with studies. And I find, this thing about the Kennedy assassination, well, the Kennedy thing. And then, Mandela, and then the Berenstain Bears. And then it just sort of snowballed. And I'm just going, what the heck is going on? And it's like, I'm reading this book here. There's a couple of books, but this is one of them. Oops.
Simulated Multiverse, what is it? Yeah.
And he talks in here, he says that he believes that the Mandela effect is caused by the multi-world something or other. But basically, it's not mass delusion. It's not misremembering. There may be some instances of that, but I think the basic ones, it's not. So I don't really question that there's something going on with our timelines and our reality and our perceptions of the same. I'm inclined to believe that it's all connected. There was somebody who, I belong to Glitches in the Matrix on Facebook. And this one person said that she'd lost an earring. Now, I've had this happen to me. And she'd lost it, and her granddaughter had grabbed it and taken to her daughter's house and lost it there. And so she was talking to her daughter, and she was doing this and that. And she said they'd looked for it. They couldn't find it. And she's about to throw away the earring, but she didn't want to because it had semi-precious stones. Anybody who has semi-precious stones, I mean, we just can't part with our rocks, okay?
Yeah.
And she's, and then one day she just gets up and she looks at her dresser and there's the other earring. They had a certain amount of quantum entanglement. And this is where I think other dimensional things are going on, perhaps other dimensional beings that are facilitating these things to be brought together, or simply the energy of your desire that you want it and it's there. Somehow you manifested it into this physical reality, maybe even from a different past or future. Yeah. I remember you talking about looking to the flames and seeing this whole scenario playing out, right?
Mm.
That's what scrying is, kind of thing. That's what scrying is called when you look into the flames or look into the water, you look into a crystal, you look at, whatever, and your mind is able to access a part of it that isn't normally accessible.
Mm.
I've been having something weird happen when I go to sleep. Right before I go to sleep, I start seeing images I can actually see them with that's hard to explain. I can see them like a dream, but they're, obviously I don't have my eyes open,
Mm-hmm.
but I'll see these snapshots of things. And it's bizarre. Sometimes it'll be Mandela patterns that move. Or it'll be like a scene of a Super 8 movie of people walking down the street. It'll be just the weirdest things that I'm seeing. And I'm thinking, am I hallucinating? I don't think I'm hallucinating. I don't know what you'd call that.
Well, what is, I've had that. I have had that where you close your eyes and something as clear as day is right in front of you. A room or, a scenery or something. But you said, what was it you said? Mandela patterns? I'm not clear what that means.
Well, the Mandela effect is a manifestation of the nature of our time-space reality. There is a 99.9% possibility we're in a simulation, which says to me, okay, that means anything could be happening one way or the other, past, present, or future. And that the fact that some of us are aware makes us particularly sensitive to the changes. I don't think there's any question that there's something weird going on, because I've had my car move in space in unnatural ways. I've had bizarre things happen, avoiding of accidents. And I'm like, people say, oh, we died in 2012. And it's like, well, what is our definition of death? I mean, we're an eternal being, right? We're a spirit. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, I like to think of it, because when you think, oh, there's no such thing as time. It's something that we have such a hard time putting our head around. And so the image that tends to work for me is to consider an ocean. Every possibility, if you replace possibility with every molecule of water, okay, it's all there. Every possibility already exists, right? It's already in the ocean. There it is. But the question is, where are we, And so it's not like we have to bring something into creation. We just have to move to that creation that we're hoping for, or wanting to vibrate in resonance with. So if you're in the bottom of the ocean, and somebody tells you about this wonderful, light, spacious, place, it's not something that you have to create. You just have to find your way there. Would you agree with that analogy?
Yeah, our perceptions are way more important than we've been taught.
Yeah, yeah.
So much energy was put into having us conform, and for whatever reasons. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're a creative coach, right?
Yeah, creation coaches.
Have you I came to the conclusion that I know that there are the tortured artists, but for me, I don't feel like creating unless I have joy in my heart. I'm calm and grounded and excited and full of fun. When I'm stressed out and everything, I have no really desire to create. And the best inventions in this world are from people who are creative. Those are things that move us forward in a positive way. So having this constant stress is not helping the world or ourselves.
I totally agree. The stress, well, as I mentioned before, kind of keeps us in that mammalian reptilian brain, and we don't have access to our higher creative, thinking and cortex.
But even the lizard knows to get into the sun if it's cold.
Oh, they're great at reactivity. They know how to react to circumstances, and that's what we're doing. We're reacting. But if you can raise your energy and to the point where you can actually use your brain to be creative,
well,
you're responding.
One of the Mandela effects on the brain was an enlargement of the reptilian part of the brain.
Well, that's exactly
perhaps a little reduction of the higher brain. And I think you can see a lot of people doing a lot of exercises in reacting instead of thinking. And I think this is reversible. We have to manifest to a better future and timeline. But I think we're seeing a lot of that around us. And there's, like I said, this is a world of duality, and you'll have the people that seeking the light and the people that just keep on wanting to drag you down,
Mm-hmm.
I don't know why they do, but there's something that they want that we have.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, probably energy. Yeah. Yeah, I've heard plenty of stories about, they keep us in a fear state because that produces energy. It's like if you're fearful, even a dog can smell it. It's that powerful. We're emitting some energy. And so I don't know if it's true, but the theory is that they keep us in this fear state so they can feed. I mean, who knows? Anything's possible.
Yeah, a horse will buck you off quicker if you're afraid than if you're not.
Yeah.
They'll just do it because they're ornery.
Yeah, probably. Yeah,
But if a horse really likes you and you've bonded with them, they'll just give up their life for you. So it's all in how we connect.
Mm-hmm.
And the energy vampires are going to go after anybody who has a lot of light in them. And you just have to find a way to protect yourself.
Sorry about that. Cutting you off there a little bit. I want to know if y'all was familiar with this. You were talking about energy and the vampires feeding off of their energy. Some will call it what Martin called it. Have you heard of this on the screen called 𝗧cie?
No, I haven't heard that term.
Okay, from what I gather of that, I think the energy on the other side is what they call 𝗧cie, and then they eat it, or whoever's eating the energy, it turns into 𝗧cie or something.
Can be. Anything's possible. I think if we can think it, it's probably happening somewhere in reality somewhere. Yeah.
Right.
I've heard that a number of times. I haven't heard that term per se, but I've heard that that's one of the reasons why we are being maintained at this. And you could almost interpret that the more fearful and stressed and tense we are, it's great for the economy. I mean, it's perfect for the economy. It keeps everybody addicted, keeps everybody fearful and prepping. Everybody's trying to take care of their survival needs, and that's creating a lot of fear. So yeah, I do think it's something to feed on. But
okay, for sure. So go ahead. I'm sorry.
I just looked it up. It's 𝗧cie is an expression used by Robert Monroe, aren't we?
Is that right?
He's the man of the day.
He is. Yeah, yes.
That our energy, it's kind of like the Matrix, where they're all plugged in and their energy is supplying an alien race with goodies, and so it's like I'm my husband was
husband. That's a good term.
Well, we've been separated 24 years. He's just had 2 strokes. I was looking for a lawyer to get divorced, and he has 2 strokes. It's like, is the universe trying to tell me something? I mean, I have more karmic debt to him. Maybe. What did I do?
Yeah.
And anyway, but this whole thing of he still is very much of energy vampire, because he never learned how to connect to source himself.
Yeah.
Due to upbringing, fears. A lot of it is because people don't think they're worthy.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have enough self-love to realize that this energy is sacred and universal for everyone, and it's available to everyone.
Yeah, I think our ultimate goal is to be just a clear vessel for energy to come through and feed everybody. You need energy, take it. The whole universe is going to come through me. That's enlightenment, right? I'm not there. But I think that's the idea, is when you can be just a pure channel, just like
Well, I do Reiki. I'm 2nd level Reiki practitioner, and that's what you are. You're a channel for the energy, the universal energies, and you help focus it on the person being healed. They have to receive it, and it goes to where they need it. But they have to be willing to receive it. They can't. It will not help them if they refuse to receive on soul level.
Yeah.
And there are some people that will not take this energy, even if it's offered to them. They say, I don't deserve it, or they don't believe it, or they are just, their spiritual beliefs tell them it can't be good or something. And so this is a problem because you see a lot of people that are not empowered. They don't love themselves. They think that to be a good person, you have to be humble and not be good to yourself. And we know that's not true.
No, that's not being the authentic self, I don't think. Yeah. But so if you're, sorry, Prop, go ahead. I want to hear from you.
No, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Well, now I forgot what I was going to say. You go.
All right. Have y'all heard of the term? I apologize for cutting you off without turning my single light on. I'm sorry about that. Have you heard about truthers? Have you heard that? Y'all heard that phrase, truther? Like somebody would say there. Yeah.
Truth as in telling truth. Truther. Truther? No.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
No, but I'm curious. What's that?
Some people will call themselves a truther. So it's a person that will feel like, something is a lie, something that they put on media is a lie, and they go around and tell people that it's a lie, they're lying to us type of thing. And they want to tell the truth. They will say certain companies are lying about their success, that they didn't really do it, or this is that shape and this is that shape, and basically I was thinking about that when 𝗧cie_𝗽𝗀 left a comment, and he says, do not try and know the truth. That's impossible. So I was wondering if that applies to people that call themselves truthers.
Interesting. Yeah, to know the truth is impossible. I would agree. We're kind of all dancing around it. It's getting back to that. The eye can't see itself, and looking in a mirror is only a reflection. So yeah, it's impossible to really see it. I agree.
I think the only truth that you can really know is your own.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's not even, from my perspective, it's not even a knowing. It's just a life coming through you. It's like being your truth. Because I don't think I could put myself in a definition. I say, I'm Doro Kiley. I'm a life coach. I've got those parents and my experiences. But is that me? That's a reflection of me. The me, the real me is what's behind the scenes, the eyes watching.
Right. You are the observer of everything. These, these groups that you see, the truthers and whatnot, and I am not a joiner. I'm not a person really, because I won't agree with everything. And the truth for me is that what you believe, you create. So I don't want to dwell on these rather negative groups and to add energy to their conspiracies and fears and paranoia kind of things, regardless of whether there's truth in it, because I don't want to feed that energy any more belief, because we do create so much with our intellectual. I have manifested some freaky weird stuff. I know I've got to be careful what I think.
Yes.
And how I think, because I have manifested some weird, amazing things.
Yeah.
So, I lead a magical life. I think we all do. It's just that some of you don't see the magic in it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I'm curious more about truthers, Prop. Is that the same as like whistleblowers? What is there a deeper meaning to truther? Is Prop available? Maybe not. Yeah.
Did I say at the same time as someone else? Who said
I may have.
Oh, okay. That's a synchro right there, synchro. So yeah, I think so. I think you would put that title on those people that are whistleblowers, I guess, because they're telling what they feel is truth, I guess so.
Yeah,
well,
truth.
I believe in freedom of speech, but I'm not going to go, yes, that's the truth, because it's like I have Gemini rising. My brain's on a million topics at one time, and I believe in nothing and I believe everything all at the same time. So it's hard for me to commit to anything but my own personal spiritual journey.
Right.
I think we live in a most wonderful time right now because everybody's realizing they have their own perspective, and that's okay. It certainly used to be that everybody was, kind of put in chunks of, categories, and you're a this and you're a that. And, we've got all the religious groups, but right now it's almost like it's okay to just believe what resonates. And somebody had just posted here about resonating, that you take what resonates. Yeah, you take what resonates and then leave the rest. That I think is the beautiful thing about being alive right now, is more and more and more, that's okay to do that. It wasn't always like that. You had to toe the line a lot more than we do now.
Conversely, people, if they all did that, there would be a lot less conflict because we would accept each other and learn from each other. I think a lot of times our self-imposed barriers to each other that we make keep us from sitting at the table of understanding. And that's a problem. I had a dear friend. She was 95 when she passed, my friend Virginia. And she says, well, if people would just sit down and break bread together, what a difference that would make. Just doing something that simple. Yeah, I eat, you eat. Hey, we got something in common, right?
You know what I did this past summer? I walk every day. I walk a couple miles up the road and back. And what I did, I put in everybody's mailbox an invitation to a meet and greet bonfire potluck, because we have new neighbors moving in on the left and new neighbors on the right, and these big, a lot of people coming in. And I live in the mountains, so your neighbors are, they're people you want to know. So what I did was I put this invitation out there, and half the people I didn't even know, right? So, but I have a nice front lawn with a bonfire pit, and I have a table that people could put their food, and it was just a meet and greet, and 30 people showed up, which was very good for my area, because I'm in a very not even, it's I live in the mountains in the forest, and there's not a lot of people around. So 30 people, and there was an incredible diversity. We had, retired principal and a couple scientists and some contractors, and then young families with children. And so people just kind of were introducing each other and getting to know each other. And it's just nice to know who's around you and not be so afraid. I think right now there's so much, I don't know why, there's so much almost intentional fear mongering going on to scare people away from each other, to separate us. And so I just said, I don't want to do that. I want to know my neighbors. So they all.
And here again, I didn't get invited. I didn't know what's wrong with this world.
You got to live within 2 miles of me. Otherwise, you would have been invited.
I'm in Sacramento. I don't get out much.
I'm in Virginia, so I'm a little bit far away from you.
Ah, shucks.
Yeah, but I think we do. I think it would benefit people to just stop being afraid of each other. Just go out and meet your neighbors. Say hello, I remember back when the internet was just starting, and it was kind of all very exciting. Oh, look, everybody's getting online. Oh, hello. You couldn't even walk down. You couldn't even sleep without having to get up and check your email. I mean, everything was so exciting when it was all starting up. And there was this one thing that was going around where there was this little, I don't know what it was, kind of a forum, and people could pick and choose their locations, and little things would happen like, well, if you live in New York City at 3 o'clock, everybody go outside and dance in the street for 2 minutes. And so at 3 o'clock, everybody, doors would open, people would come out in the street and just dance for 2 minutes and then go back in. And these were people didn't know each other. You know, these are neighbors in a big city like New York. And they would just come out, and the whole energy of the area would be uplifted. So that's human connection. And that's what we're missing. I think it helps to lift our spirits and our connection if we can do it in a fun way and creative way. So yeah, we need to stop being so afraid of each other.
I definitely feel that. You know, I've reached out to a couple of people that's in this, you know, so-called Mandela Effect community. Well, I'll just say Mandela Effect community, not to disrespect, but you know, these titles. You know what I'm saying? Like if you take the title away from it, what's actually going on? You know, that's what I'm saying. But I've reached out to a couple of people, you know, and it is what it is, you know. But here it is. I'm doing it myself, you know, because I tried to get on other channels. And I appreciate those that allowed me on to communicate with them about these types of topics, because I can't talk to people in my personal life about it. You know what I mean? You get these weird responses and things. So when someone is putting out a call, in my opinion, to like, hey, I'm willing to talk to different people that's going through it, you know, as me. And then the person reaches out, and then for some odd reason, they're just like, I'm not messing with you. So you never know what the issue is, because, I do appreciate it though, because it sends me on a certain trajectory that I'm supposed to go on. You know, maybe it's not meant for me to go that direction with that person. So that's why I always tell people here that I appreciate you for coming through, and the people on the panel, because I'm able to grow myself and to learn more about other people and what they're experiencing with this whole thing, esoteric topics.
Well, you know, finding a meeting of minds and spirit and souls is challenging. We spend a lot of our time loving people where they are, in spite of what they believe. I mean, this is something required. You really have to learn how to do that, and loving ourselves no matter where we are as well. And, you know, there's things I could say if I'm in some other stream that wouldn't be positive. I'm going, what's the point of saying something that isn't positive? Has no purpose. It doesn't mean if your best friend asks you, does this dress make me look fat, that maybe you should tell the truth.
I can relate to that one. Yeah.
You know, there's a time and a place for a level of revelation to people. You have to know where they are, how much you can tell them. Very few people get to know me in the real world, because I don't get out much, for one thing, but I don't socialize really. So there aren't many people that get to know me very well. And that's on me. You know, I just, well, there's a lot of reasons. So you have to learn how to kind of read people. And you have to sort of like, I had something weird happen to me, and throw that out and see how they feel about that. And then you can kind of figure out where they are, and then you can, you know, help them, give them some information to help them with their own worldview, attitudes, and ideas that maybe you can influence them in a positive way. But it is difficult. My kids think I'm a little loony. My daughter, though, I mean, I have 3 of my sons are pretty convinced about the Mandela Effect. They just don't let it bother them. It doesn't matter to them, you know, because it isn't affecting their life in any way to speak of. Of course, they're still pretty young, so maybe, you know, didn't have something shocking happen like my change of memories or whatever. And she says, Mom, she was complaining that she didn't have my psychic abilities. I said, well, you know, I was a late bloomer. And now weird things are happening to her. Synchronicities and whatnot. Do you know anything, Doro, about Carl Jung?
Oh, yes. Carl Jung, definitely. Yeah. What is it? Dreams and no, he's amazing.
There's a book that I just recently bought. I was reading it on my Hoopla digital reading app that goes with my library, and I can't read it again until tomorrow or the next day. And he talks about synchronicity, and he's trying to pin it down to an actual scientific thesis that has to do with psychology and perception. And he gets pretty paranormal out there. But and I wonder what threw him into that direction. And he had a near-death experience. Did you know that?
I did not know that, so that explains a lot.
And people that have that happen to them, they're never the same, because it completely negates this whole idea that this is it. They start realizing that that's my home. I'm just visiting here to learn and grow in a world of duality and challenge, to help grow my spirit in ways that are more challenging than I can do on the other side, where everything is sweetness and light and oneness. We don't have anything to test our resolve and our mettle, basically. So when I found out that he had a near-death experience, which I will try to research more on, I was gobsmacked.
Yeah, that's powerful. Have you ever heard of the scientist? She's a brain scientist named Jill Bolte Taylor. She wrote a book called My Stroke of Insight. And she was a brain scientist. She probably still is, but she went into the brain sciences because her brother was a schizophrenic, and she wanted to understand the workings of all that. And one morning she woke up, she was getting ready for work, and she started realizing that some things didn't seem right. And it's a great story. But throughout the morning, as she's getting ready for work, she's feeling more and more expanded and just feeling so light and glorious and merging into, everything around her. Turns out she was having a stroke. And it was a blissful, joyful, like, oh, wonderful to be alive, and merging with the rain and the shower and then it dawned on her, oh my God, I'm having a stroke. And then it was all about, I've got to call somebody before it gets any worse.
And she couldn't use the phone because of the numbers.
Okay, so you know the story.
Yes.
Yeah, she did a TED Talk on it. It was fascinating. So you wonder, what are we? And I know that Johns Hopkins University is doing, and they're probably beyond the clinical trials now, of using psilocybin to help people overcome their fear of death. And, after one trip, they're like, oh, okay, I'm good with it. Let's go.
Well, you've also heard people using shrooms and stuff are more altruistic, compassionate, and kind. It just expands your awareness away from this physicality as being it, to there's something bigger than you,
much,
that you're connected to. And it also reminds you that, hey, I matter because I'm part of this. When you're just part of the family and you're the black sheep like me, if my identity was built on that, I wouldn't feel too horribly great about myself, really.
That's fascinating. Yeah. Prop, have you ever had any kind of, I know you've had out-of-body experiences, and do you think that's what death is like?
I will assume that when that time comes, you'll get out of the body. But I've heard this guy named Robert Monroe, not Robert Monroe's, that's who you were talking about with the center that he created for binaural tones, right? Not him. Thomas Campbell. Yeah, Thomas Campbell said that. What was I saying? Oh, out of body. Thomas Campbell says that you're not moving out of the body; you're actually moving inward. And I guess that goes into what you were saying earlier about everything around us is is our vibration, pretty much. You know, we evoke it from our brain, from our mind to our brain, and then we see it in our reality. So that I think that's what he means, that we're going inward. What do you think about that phrase? I'm trying to figure it out.
I would say going inward to a I guess it's astral plane, but yeah, inward is not resonating too much with me. I almost feel more like you die, and when consciousness lets go, you just go poof, like a dandelion, you blow, and it goes into another realm. That's my understanding. And then you come back to be reborn again, just like the seeds of a dandelion, and you're taking parts of your personality with you. That's my understanding. That's my perception. What do you think, Skook?
I would say everything we experience is internal. Everything, our perceptions of someone hurting our feelings is all our perception. Our perception of wellness or illness is to a certain extent physical, but a great deal to do with our attitudes and our beliefs. And because this world works so hard to make us feel small and unimportant and ineffective and just a cog in a chain, and we have multiple songs, just a brick in the wall, and as long as we believe these things, they'll be true in our reality. But as people, I think when they use the mushrooms and the stuff like that, the DMT, this is where it breaks through that perception that we are just physical beings, that there is more to us than that. So really, our internal perceptions govern our whole reality.
I'm totally on board with that.
So even God, is God outside of that reality?
I think we're manifestations of that God sacred energy, and that we have a certain amount of the power to create or destroy. Just like I don't believe in anthropomorphic God, but I certainly believe in a sacred, powerful energy, an intelligence perhaps as well. I'm not even going to attempt what the nature of what we consider God really is. I'm not sure we're able to. We try to make him in our image, but it doesn't work, for me.
I think the way we are made in his image is that he is the number one. I mean, it's the point of creation. Everything comes out of that one point. He's the creator, and what he's done is create us in his image as little creators.
I had a vision when I was meditating once, where I went to the Akashic records. And I don't know if you've run into the grumpy guy at the door. He's really, what do you want? It's like, I mean, really, I said, in what way did you, are you filling out your karmic debt by having to be the doorman of the Akashic records? I get to the Akashic records, and I'm guided to go up these stairs in the library. And I go up these stairs, and I end up seeing a throne. And I sit in it, and these two beings come and stand next to me, one with each hand on my shoulder. And they're male and female, but they almost look identical. They're like angelic kind of beings or guides, okay? And they're still with me. They're with me all the time. Then I went up, and they put a crown on me. It's like, I don't think this is me, but okay. Then I go up a little higher, and I go to this place where I'm looking out of this balcony, and I see this water, and this water is, the shimmering, like when the algae on the ocean, that green shimmer, only it was like multicolor shimmer sparkles in this water, and it was writhing and moving, and it was really alive. And I was told, well, this is the sea of souls. This is where they come out of to become a person. And then another meditation I had where I was flying through space and I saw these spheres that were like this big. I don't know how big they were, and they were multicolored, different colored spheres that were glowing. And they said, oh, these are souls ready to be manifest. And they varied in brightness. They varied in color, just like we vary from person to person. So this whole idea is how we are created. I'm not really sure how it all works. I just know there's some kind of intelligence, creative power that we gain from being manifested into a soul. That we carry that energy. It's just like when you bake a pie, it's always going to have the cherries in it, right? I mean, it's like that the energy that created that pie is always in the pie, I guess is the way to put it.
Yeah, I agree. It's an adventure. It's an adventure.
Well, you know that Carl Jung used to do mind-altering substances with Freud, I do believe.
I did not know that.
A lot of these people back then did mind-expanding stuff. And that's, I think, where they got some of their esoteric ideas. I think Maslow was doing it. I mean, they was like that. I can imagine they're sitting somewhere having something that would help them to see things more clearly.
I don't doubt that at all. You know, are you familiar? And I've mentioned Ram Dass a number of times in my videos. Are you familiar with Ram Dass? He was a Jewish Harvard professor, right, from Boston, Richard Alpert. And he decided to experiment on his students with psilocybin. He and his partner, Timothy Leary. Maybe you've heard of Timothy Leary. And so, yes, they, and this was before drugs were really controlled very well. So back in the 60s. And so he was experimenting a lot with these drugs, and it just challenged him so much to understand how they relate to psychology. He ended up being fired from Harvard and went to India on a spiritual quest. And he ended up finding his teacher, a teacher who, interestingly, psychically, magically, was also looking for him. And so they meet, and eventually becomes his guru, and he gets the name Ram Dass, comes back to the United States and starts teaching about these teachings that are taught through the Vedas and the Indian philosophies, and also yoga and everything. So a lot of the spiritual kind of pursuit came from those earlier teachers back in the 60s who were doing drugs. And I think that's where Carl Jung, and, you know, I don't know, it was obviously much farther back, it was Freud. And I love the fact that these plants are just growing naturally. They grow everywhere, actually. I haven't gotten into identifying and consuming and partaking them, but they're everywhere. These there's something like 100 different kinds of hallucinogenic mushrooms growing around the world. So it's nature, for some reason, carries these chemicals that match up perfectly with our own brain chemistry to give us certain experiences. Maybe a glimpse into the big picture.
Well, I know that, like you said, they're working on some things to help with depression. I know that the shrooms helps with PTSD for some people. It's like it's rewiring that limbic system. It's rewiring the nervous system. It's just changing pathways, I guess. Also, perhaps they see something that they are bigger than they thought they were, and that there's more to themselves than just the physical world as well. I know the shamans all over the world, whatever you want to call them, the healers that connect between spirit and the physical to help heal. Almost all of them use some kind of mind-altering substance to help connect to spirit. Either that or they would have to chant and drum. The native people would do that too. That would get you into that altered state.
Yeah, shamanism. There's a place down in Peru where you can actually, it's almost like a tourist thing. It's not really, but you can make arrangements to go and do a ayahuasca trip down there. I'm thinking, maybe one of these days.
Well, I don't know if my stomach could handle it, but
yeah, it's supposed to be pretty wretched, but the payoff is supposed to be big. So,
have you seen the art done by different people that go to that other reality?
Can't imagine.
There was an artist, I'll try to find it maybe, that is a great artist, does this beautiful artwork, and he'll put the imagery that he saw. And they've interviewed people that go through it, and they see the same imagery. And I'm going, what is this place they're going to? Is this some common consciousness, alternate reality that speaks in symbols? I mean, it was just really interesting that people were having the same symbolic creatures appear to them. If that doesn't say we're connected, I don't know what it does. It doesn't. It certainly says we're connected to something universally.
That's
the whole thing is that what are they trying to say to us?
Are you familiar with Joseph Campbell? The books about the archetypes, and also Clarissa Pinkola Estes, The Women Who Run with the Wolves. I mean, these are they compiled stories that are basically telling the same thing, all the same, about the same ghosts and spirits and realms and gods and even aliens. I mean, so you have to think that there is an underlying shared consciousness. And the image of starlings comes to me, when all the starlings get together to get ready to go south, they create these swarms by the thousands, and it just looks like one mind moving across the sky in different patterns. And it's beautiful to watch. And fish too. Fish will school like that. So I think they're moving with one.
They call that murmuration. Murmuration, the birds.
Oh, really? Oh, good. Yeah, that's a new word for me. Murmuration. Right.
Well, we always, I believe in Pangea. We just used to be all one land, and that got separated somehow in some cataclysm. And people say, well, this appears in this continent that's similar I can't talk. Symbols.
Yeah.
Same kind of things that they're carving, the same kind of things. There's two explanations. It could be that they have a shared mythos, or they've connected to a shared consciousness, like the people that take ayahuasca. That somehow there's some kind of connection we have with everyone. That's why if you do ill to anyone, you're doing ill to yourself. Yeah. And you do good to anyone, you're doing good to everybody. I mean, it's like there's no man is an island. And, it's like, well, I don't care what I'm doing. It doesn't hurt anybody else. I said, actually, if it's something negative, you are hurting other people as well as yourself.
Yeah.
And I think that the responsibility to be good to ourselves and others is greater than it's ever been.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, yeah, that's really nice and beautiful. Those are some of the thoughts that I've been thinking throughout the week. So in a way, I guess that's a synchronicity. And I want to highlight what Skynet said earlier when you were speaking. Didn't Carl Jung coin the word synchronicity? He was a psychiatrist, and yet if you speak about experiencing that to a psychiatrist, they say you're schizophrenic. I guess I'm saying that right. Kind of funny.
Yeah.
Right. So it's just it's weird. It's
Well,
weird.
that's
It's kind of
because
the
they're
same.
not a Jungian psychologist. A
That's
Jungian
right.
psychologist looks at archetypes, dreams, and things like this. They wouldn't think you were crazy, but there aren't very Jungian psychiatrists because I guess they're, it's a little out there.
Okay, so they had an open mind enough to go in that direction, to be that particular title.
You know that guy that does the past life things, the psychiatrist that found out, I forget his name, that his patient was stuck in the past life trauma. And she had all these multiple addictions, and not addictions, but illnesses and sensitivities and allergies. And when she was able to confront her past life trauma that was stuck in her system, she started to heal. Now, you'll find, generally speaking, most psychiatrists don't do hypnosis like he did. They don't do this sort of thing. They just basically do talk therapy, and basically you heal yourself with somebody listening to you that is willing to listen to you. I find, like my daughter, she has some depression issues. She's got a therapist. I haven't asked her how she's doing. But I mean, it's sometimes challenging to find someone who you can relate to. Someone who just out says you're schizophrenic because you had some synchronicities is not the therapist for you. That's my guess. But really, we are so connected. My granddaughter's schizophrenic, okay? And the symptoms of schizophrenia are very, very clear. It's usually auditory or visual hallucinations, and they're not happy ones, okay? And if something's really negative and it's probably, something negative in your life or your ego. It's not a message from the divine when it's like that. We should be able to understand a message from spirit, message from your higher self, as opposed to lower energy messages or organic health issues with the brain. And differentiating those things can be challenging. I also believe my granddaughter's psychic on top of it. Not a good combination to be schizophrenic and psychic. How do you sort that? Really?
I would say,
I keep hoping she'll get better, but right now she's still having trouble.
Meditation has a lot of kind of mind exercises. One good practice, and this is what I do a lot when I go on my walk. I tune into my senses. It's like, what do I hear? I hear, the wind blow. I hear my feet crunching on the gravel as I'm walking. I heard a dog bark. I hear an airplane going overhead, and I try to be really focused, because if I hear a plane go overhead and I suddenly realize I just heard a plane go overhead, I can't say I heard a plane. That's not in the moment, right? You have to catch it right when it's happening. I hear a plane. I hear a dog. And you have to be so present moment. And it's a very good mental exercise for someone who's kind of not knowing what to think, how to feel, confusion. Get so present in the moment. And it's really quite challenging. I mean, I've been meditating for decades, and still I can go out walking and I'm hearing, I feel the pressure of my shoe around my foot, and I feel my hip, throwing my leg forward, and I see my dog, and if things are happening that I'm not being aware of, and then I say, oh, wait, no, I think I just heard something. No, then you're not in the moment anymore. So I think it's a good exercise. It sounds easy. It's not. Training the mind.
I agree with that. It is challenging. And when you're really depressed and stuff, it's really hard to do that because you're living in the, if you're anxious, you're living in the future. If you're depressed, you're living in the past. And so this exercise of being in the moment it can be nothing but good for you, regardless of whether you have anxiety or depression. That being in the moment and gratitude, having gratitude for what you have in this very moment is so powerful and keeps you grounded in gratitude, which is, I think, helps manifest more gratitude, more things to be grateful for. Yeah, Crunchwrap Supreme. Yeah, I think they are a little bit in a hurry to give out medication for things. I really like to see them have more therapy first rather than medicine first. I'm just saying. But that's not how our system works right now.
Okay. So Pre is here. What's up, Pre? Crunchwrap Supreme, Sky Ness, everybody that came through. What do y'all think about going to a break? To snack time.
Okay. Sounds
hey,
good.
preliminary.
Right.
That sounds fine. I could probably use some food. Coffee alone is not going to keep this almost redheaded person going.
All right. So we're going to go to snack time right now. This is going to be a little something different. I'm going to show something to keep your mind out there. We've been talking about out of body. We're talking about what do you call it? I wanted to say DMT. Is that what y'all was talking about? No, or was I thinking that you were talking about ayahuasca?
Oh, that was
psilocybin, yeah, all those drugs,
psilocybin, or however you say it, and all those things I've never tried.
Right. And like I said, I was thinking earlier in the week of this conversation with myself about, man, because I thought about this too. I said, I thought about this one day. Like, I wonder how it would be if I tried some of that. And then Skook, you said what you said. You said you don't think your stomach could handle it. I've been thinking, like, I don't even think I could handle it. So I was thinking a similar thing as you. So, and I listened to what Doro's response was to that. So I'm like, but I don't think I'm ready for that. I think it's going to be too strong for me. I don't know, but people are having some trippy experiences. But okay, so we're gonna go into snack time right now, and then this is going to be a little something that's going to keep your mind out there. If you really want the bottom on this, because it's music, put your good headset on, get it amped up or whatever, because it has bottom to it. So anyway, it's just going to be something that's going to keep your thoughts out there, out the box is what I'm thinking of. All right, so go to a break right now. Any last comments you want to make before we go to the snack time?
I just don't know what to eat now.
Nope.
All right. All right. So here we go. Yeah. It is me, Propagate, right here, because it's never too late, Even though we started a little bit, whatever, But I thank y'all for being here, tougher than leather. Yo, thank you for leaving comments. Got any questions, etc., etc.? Go ahead and leave that in the comments, and we'll get right to you. All right, so I'm going to bring on Doro Kiley. Doro Kiley, come on out for us. Spread some more of that good old love. Doro Kiley, are you ready for us? Doro Kiley. I guess she is still digesting her snack. So we're going to get right back to Doro Kiley. Oh, my bad. Whoa, with me. Okay, here we go. Doro Kiley, about to bring you on right now. 1, 2, 3. Doro Kiley.
All right, here we are. We're back. Let me put my phone in airplane mode. Is Skook still with us?
No, Skook said I'm out of here. No, I'm just joking.
Okay. All right. Yeah, this is
Skook
fun.
Oh yeah, for sure. So I know that cartoon was very trippy. What did you think about that snack time? Did you get a chance to watch it?
I watched some of it. Yeah, it was pretty creative. I didn't watch the whole thing. I had to go get a refill on my drink. And
Gotcha.
Was there a meaning behind it? It looked creative and fun, but I didn't catch the meaning.
Right. This is pretty much something to get your groove on too. If you have good headset on and you hear the bass, hip hopish, electronic, and pretty much it's all about the visuals. If you really watch it all the way through, it is a story line to it. I don't know the exact storyline to it myself, but it goes into a story. A guy wakes up in the morning and then he starts his day. He goes out, he sees weird imagery, and that's why I said it's kind of similar to what we were talking about with to what y'all talking about, the DMT ayahuasca. Oh, did you want to swing into those slides you had set up?
We could, if you think your audience would be interested in that, and that's a good, yeah. I mean, pick a slide and I'll start talking. Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so we're about to pop it up right now, like Redenbacher, and boom.
Okay.
Cosmic energy.
Yeah, I can start here or anywhere else, but yeah, this is a good one. This is and I didn't mention this in our last talk, but this is the way I perceive the levels of reality that we experience. I used to be a scuba diver, and I know that when you're on the top of the water, you can see clearly. You've got a broader perspective. There's not a lot of pressure. The water is usually warmer and obviously more light. Now, as you go down, you can start to feel the pressure building. I have another. Let's jump onto the other one that looks probably, yeah, this is the one. So talking about this one, as you go down, the water becomes colder, it becomes darker, and the pressure is building. And the pressure builds very quickly as you go down. And you can go so far down that it just becomes black and disorienting. And these, I feel, are the levels of emotions that we are capable of having. And so going up or down is going to determine how you're actually experiencing your life from that perspective. So to the next one here, you can see how this is lining up with the chakra system. So on the very top, where you go into the crown chakra, you are basically merging into the cosmic energy of the universe. Everything on the left-hand side here is I got to jump ahead one more because there's an example here. Oops, no, it's not updated. Anyway, there's each level here is also associated with a musical note. So the bottom is C, D, E, F, G, and then A and B. So those are the musical notes associated with each level of emotion, and then there are also the colors. Pop over here. These are the colors. So on the left-hand side, starting, let's actually start from the bottom. So you've got the very most difficult emotions to deal with. Survival is absolutely paralyzing. You are in fear. You are having, you're basically reacting. You're in a state of reactivity. You're dependent on your reflexes to help you survive. This is the animal brain or reptilian brain, some might call it, keeping you down in this fear survival mode. Next level up is pleasure. And that's where you have your addictions, you have your sex, any kind of power tripping, although power actually comes in on the next level up. It's kind of an addiction to power, but it's also starting to be the creative level. I mean, this can be where you find the poetry and all the creative arts, dancing, music will start to come in on this level. And I say start to because these start to build as you continue to go up. The creativity and the insights are all upward bound here. So the interesting thing about love, okay, this is the heart chakra, and it's the balancing point. So people say, oh, I want to be enlightened. Well, you can have the experience of enlightenment. You can go all the way up through all kinds of meditative practices and disciplines. You can experience this cosmic energy consciousness, but it's not of this world. You're not engaged in life at this point. You are beyond the three-dimensional reality. So when I come back down into love, that's the balancing point. That's where, if we're going to be in this world, this is the balancing point. This is where it's a very strong place to abide if that's where you can get to. The interesting thing here is that if you look at the musical notes, and I didn't put it in on these slides here, I should have updated it, but starting at the bottom, C, fear on the left and survival, this is all the note C. And you know, C has no flat. You can't you can't create a C flat because there is no C flat in the musical scale. Now, going up, you can have guilt, which is the flat of pleasure. Okay, so you've got D, the note D, pleasure, and D flat, which is guilt. And so you can see how this works. Willpower, E, okay, so E flat. Now, F it has no flat either. So you have love and grief. If you're going to love, you are also going to grieve. There's not one way to go or the other. They are on the same line. They are absolutely a full note. They go hand in hand. And you just dance between the two. And it's a very vulnerable place for some people to be, but it's also breaking out of the animal brain. So it's moving upward. So this is the F zone, love and grief. And then G, truth, which I would interpret as following your absolute dharma, your true, authentic expression of yourself, of your perception. Lies, I think, is a little bit of a strong word, but it's actually referring to the inability to speak your truth. You are caught in the world still, and you are still trying to present yourself or see something that is not in true alignment with yourself. So, so there you've got a G flat. And then G A. Okay, so insight, which starts to come through higher meditations. When you go into absolute silence and you stay there, and you can't predict it. You can't. There's nothing. There's no technique. But if you're abiding in silence, oftentimes you will suddenly have an insight. Just sort of an understanding. It's not thinking. It's just you're shown something and you go, aha, and now you know. Now, the other side of that is illusion. If you're moving up too quickly and you're still getting stuck in a lot of this is not one after the other. This can be, all in degrees. So you can be up here in illusion and still be connected to fear. There are still threads attached. So illusion can be where people, what they used to call, and probably still do, a spiritual emergency. And this is where a lot of schizophrenics may be committed, because they think, oh my gosh, I'm Jesus. I'm the incarnation of God. I'm the all. I'm everything. And on the one hand, it's true, but they're not balanced. They're not partaking in the world in a balanced way. And so that becomes what we would call illusion. And then all the way up, you're letting go of your whole story, your whole history. You can't emerge out of the crown chakra unless you have completely let go of your past. And I don't mean forget your past. You still have the memories, but the emotional pulls are not there. You still know your mother's name. You're just not having all those strings pulled when you think about her or whatever. So that's when you go beyond all that. And the last thing to go is the ego. It becomes very, very, very subtle at this stage of the game. And it can be hard to, because you're still like, oh, look, I made it, I made it to enlightenment. That's the last thing that has to go. So these are my way of describing the energies, the dimensions, the chakras. And as I said, you can be in any of these and still get pulled into the lower chakras, which is what meditation is for. And let me bring this up. This is what's it called? A caduceus. This symbol is called a caduceus. And what this is representing you could say this is like the spinal cord, right? And the Kundalini wraps its way up. And once it reaches this place, it has to let go, because all of this is about knowledge. This is the knowledge of good and evil, right? And when you get up into these higher dimensions, you have to let go of the duality before you can actually merge into the cosmic energy. So as I said before, you can experience this, and that's fine, but it's not functional to live a life in this three-dimensional world. You can tap into it anytime and get those higher insights, but to actually live in balance in this world, this the love and grief area is the balancing point. And if we can stay balanced in that dance between love and grief, and this is not love, romantic love. Romantic love can be interpreted. Love itself can be interpreted on any one of these levels. Let's see if I can remember. I had this all written out at one point. But on the lower end of survival, you could kill for love. Okay, this is survival. You're terrified of losing what you have. This could be a romantic triangle, or it could be a military, kill for my country, for the love of my country. This is the expression of love on this level. And of course, this level of pleasure and guilt, we all know what love feels like there. In fact, sex is very often interchangeable with the word love. So this is another expression of love. It's a way the word is used. Love is a very loaded word. Could use it on every level. Willpower. This love on this level is more the love of expression, of creative interaction, and then going up into love here, which for me, I call this the loving awareness. Oh, let me say, in this willpower area, this is where marriage comes in. This is the love of marriage. Okay, so you're in this area. It's a little more controlling. You want to get married because you're afraid that if you don't have somebody commit to you, they may leave you, and so you're afraid of losing what you have. So this is where the marriage contract comes in. Now, up in the love grief area, you're actually in this connected area where you see everyone is connected to you. This is a loving awareness. You see all people, all animals, all, vegetation, everything, the whole world, the sky. You see the love everywhere. You see the connection. And when somebody does something or something happens where people are hurt and injured, you feel the grief. So then going up into truth. Truth is your dharma, your authentic, true self. And then, as I said before, the lies is not really a good word. I'll have to come up with a better word, but it's where you're unable to express your authentic self because of fear, because of judgment, because of whatever. You're still needing to work through all of that. And then we talked about insight and illusions. So just above that, you have to let go of judgments. You start letting go of the judgmental, good guys, bad guys. You're good. You didn't do that right. All that. You got to let go of all of that up here in this area before you can transcend. Now, it's hard for me to explain it all, but these little lines, go back one more. These little lines, I put these little lines in here for a reason. And it's to represent, you could say thousands of lines here. Let's pretend. And each line is like a lifetime. So, you are born into this world, perhaps on the animal realm or coming out of the, some hell realm or whatever. You've finally made it to being a human being, right? And every living thing supposedly, especially in Eastern philosophy, is wanting to be born a human because that's where we have the opportunity to ascend. Animals don't have that opportunity, vegetation or anything else. So to be born human is to be exceedingly lucky, as Buddhists and Hindus might say. So you start out you've got to figure out all the survival stuff. And then you start working your way into higher consciousness. So you have a lifetime down on the fear level, and you pass away, you get backtrack, you start again and again and again. So you could say you're going through all of these levels, and as you're learning the lessons, you are coming farther and farther up in the chakra system until you reach enlightenment. Now, somebody asked Ram Dass, how many lifetimes does this take? And he said, in Hinduism, there's a story that says, if you have a bird with a silk scarf flying over a mountaintop, and he drags that scarf along the top of the mountain. The time it takes for that scarf to wear down the entire mountain, that's how long we've been doing it. I mean, that's like infinity, right? Might as well say there is no end to it. So, so when we get all the way to the top, you kind of have this peak of everything. You see it all. There's no duality. It's all one. And then you have to decide, do you want to come back? Or do you want to abide in the cosmic consciousness? And you can go either way. What in Hinduism, there's this thing, bodhisattva. A bodhisattva is an enlightened being who does not have to come back, has completed all the lifetimes, all the work, done it all, understands the whole picture, remembers the whole purpose of everything. And so they can just transcend and just abide in infinite peace. But many bodhisattvas will say, I'll go back. I will go back and bring the message. Now, there have been many teachers in the past. I think certainly Jesus, I believe the Buddha, but there's many. I mean, you could go back into Egyptian history and name a couple more. So they're rare. But as Skook mentioned earlier, the veil is becoming thinner. We're actually having more, and I think the internet is really propelling consciousness. We are being faced with all the knowledge we want, basically. What do you do with that? You can study and study and study. In the olden days, what we have at our fingertips to study day in and day out was not allowed to be taught to most lay people. So these are the secrets that have been released and disseminated from the monasteries around the world, from the highest secrets of the highest Himalayan, Tibetan. They have released all this information that for thousands of years has remained secret, and everything's available to us right now. So we can accelerate our awakening process, and I think the internet is causing it, because we're seeing the horrors, and we're going through kind of this explosion of anything's possible, and we're going into our addictions, and we're going, to really accelerate, you have to hit bottom. And we all know this through, if you've ever been addicted to anything, you know that the way to quit, the easiest way to quit is hit bottom, and then you're going to bounce up. Whether or not you can maintain that is a different story. But so we have this opportunity to go straight up to higher consciousness. We can go all the way up and experience that. And then we're going to have to make the decision of whether or not we want to come back down and create a better world. And I think that's the situation we're in right now. I think we have the opportunity to grow and change and create a better world. And so that's why I'm a creation coach. Let's talk. Let's put it on the table.
Groovy. Groovy.
Hello.
Hey, what's up? I had to take that in for a second. I had to digest all of that. So sorry about this. A moment of silence for a beautiful, beautiful, well-spoken presentation. What do you think about that, Skook?
It's like when I was a child and we had a cow. Her name was Lily. And we would sit next to her, my brother and I, in the sun. Leaning up against her, she's on the ground, and she'd be chewing her cud. and ruminating, they call it, I do believe, amongst other things. And it's like, well, we have all this information, but it doesn't give us wisdom. We have to think about things and make judgment calls and collate our experiences for us to really gain wisdom from what we experience. And sometimes the aha moment doesn't happen for a long time. And not until in our present time we're looking back upon events. Even though it's good to live in the present, it's good to evaluate things and what you've learned from things that happened. This is where wisdom comes, is when you say that wasn't something bad happening to me, that was something good happening to me to teach me something. And that person wasn't in my life because I deserved to be treated badly. It was to teach me something. Everyone that you meet is to teach you something. Every event that occurs is to teach you something. And even though we have the world of knowledge at our fingertips, it will not bring you wisdom. As much as it would be nice, it's just like you see professors and everything like that. And some of them are very good at teaching information, but some of them don't have much insight. When you have a teacher that has insight and intuitive understanding of things, how much more rich that education is, basically. But I liked your thing with the levels there, and the survival was C. Is that correct? The tone.
You're speaking to Miss Doro.
Yeah.
Okay, Miss Doro. Let's bring Miss Doro back out here. Miss Doro.
Yep. Yeah. So the bottom, the survival level, the base chakra is the note C.
Okay. Now semantics. You talked about that. I find that fascinating. Did you compare the tones of those things to the mandala that's created by it, to the symbol for the chakra?
Yes, that's the cymatics is how they actually came up with, when you see a picture of a chakra, it has a shape in it.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the cymatic shape that's coming from the resonating tone of that.
It's almost like we lost information somewhere along the line.
Oh, a lot of information
that we're just now getting. I'm eating coleslaw, just to forgive me.
Yeah, we have lost so much information. I've been watching this other Gaia series called Ancient Civilizations, and it's really clear that there have been other civilizations, starting with pyramids. I mean, just that alone, it's like, how'd that happen? We still can't build something like that. So we know there have been previous civilizations. And the theory is, and they can't, well, maybe the military knows the secret, but I don't, and most people don't, that you can move things through sound, vibration. And so there are people.
Are you talking about the Coral Castle?
Oh, that too. Yes, that also. Exactly. And so I think our past civilizations knew all of that. They had that science down, the science of vibration and sound. And I think we have lost that. We got to rebuild that.
Well, it also goes to how the bittersweetness of love, and that some of those beautiful love songs are in the minor key, which expresses the grief and sorrow of loss. That we don't have joy without having the understanding of loss. We don't know how precious it is until we've lost it. I mean, we're just stupid people.
Isn't that interesting?
We don't appreciate things until we have a loss.
Yeah.
Or a tower moment, as it would say in tarot.
Yeah. And I could call that hitting bottom, So yeah.
No place to go but up.
That's it. Yeah. So that's my way of approaching reality, if you want to call it that. I don't think anything is real. I think everything is made up of stories, and it just depends on how many people believe it.
It's
that makes
our
it
interpretations that make it real.
Yeah.
You know, when I meditated, and I need to start doing the same kind of meditation I was doing before, which is just concentrating on a flame, where I connected to a Native American healer, medicine person called Silver Eagle. Now, I didn't know who he was initially. I didn't know who this woman was that handed me a big white buffalo skin dress. I didn't know about why this Silver Eagle gave me a pipe, a peace pipe. I didn't know any of those things. And I had to go to, it was M Player. There was a group of Native people that I had a question, because it's obvious this man, he wore cowboy kind of clothes. He wasn't like wearing regalia, but he was obviously Native. And I said, I don't understand something I saw in my meditations. And I told them, and they said, oh, they immediately knew who it was. I'm just like going, what? Silver Eagle, he's a medicine person. And that's white buffalo calf woman that you saw. And the peace pipe is about the Oglala Sioux black eagle. I'm not even sure. My brain's
Black elk.
Black elk, that's it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know any of this. I have books now. I had to read up on it. And the funniest thing is that I'd go to the bookstore and books would fall out of the bookcases for me that I was supposed to get. I mean, you have this sort of thing happen to you, and you know, people just think, oh, you know, they want to live in a purely predictable physical reality. They can do that. I think you miss out on things, and you certainly shouldn't tell someone they haven't experienced something if they have, because that's not really appropriate to say, you know, you're lying, especially when they've had some kind of profound experience.
Yeah, I agree.
But they, you know, sorry, but when I went to talk to these Native peoples, and they said, well, you're one of us now. And I'm like going, do I look Native to you? Come on. And then I went to Old Sacramento, and there was I go to the Native American place because I was trying to find out why I was getting these visions and what they meant and why I had a connection to native kind of things. I don't know what that was.
Oh, sorry about that. Sorry about that. I accidentally pressed one of my sound files on my bed. Sorry about that.
It was my brain. Anyway, this man, he was a traditional dancer. And I met him at the Native American store in Old Sacramento. And I told him about my vision. And I also told him about something that happened to me at Indian Grinding Rock, which has it's a protected site where a sacred site with Native people, where they would grind their corn ceremonially. Big huge rock where they could grind it. They just had to have the grinder. And there was this giant tree. And my I keep hearing something. I would say
let me fix that. I'm sorry about that. Something's going on here. I'm sorry about that.
No worries.
My device got stuck, and then it was stuck on the sound file, and it started playing. So I
know
apologize.
how that is. I know.
Okay, let me just get off this setting. Okay, cool. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Anyway, I sit at the base of this big, huge tree. Huge oak, probably 100, 150 years old. And my kids are off at the little stream. And for some reason, all of a sudden, I was completely alone. It was bizarre. It's like I was in this silent bubble. And there was a little field with wildflowers on the other side of this little pathway, and I could hear the buzzing of the bees really clearly. I looked up a tree near me, and I could hear the lizard going up and down the tree. And I had asked the tree's permission to sit there, and I just had this weird, very sensorily profound experience. And I told this native man about this. And he proceeds to tell me the story of his life from his birth to the present moment. I know more about that man than I do about family members. And apparently he used to take people on vision quests. And he says, well, that's what you had, was a vision quest thing. And it's like, you know, and I've never been the same since having that experience. It changed everything. It reminded me how everything is perception and everything is connected and everything is everything. And he also told me something about the white buffalo woman and black elk and all that. And he also told me that I was a sign, that I was a message that it was time for him to get the Native American Center up and going again. They tried it in the 70s. It didn't work. He says, you coming has told me that it's time to start it again. And they did. They have it up and running now. But it's like, how would you like to be a harbinger, unbeknownst, that you're the message being sent to someone you don't even know?
It's amazing. Yeah. Yeah, my only experience with a native shaman was in 1979 in Taos, New Mexico. I spent the summer at the Llama Foundation, and they were in close relationship with the Taos Indian Pueblo tribe also there. And so I was able to, I was actually invited to go to a peyote ceremony with shamans, and I said, I'm not ready for that. But one day I was sitting on a bench outside of a kitchen. This is way up in the mountains in the Pueblo tribes there, and I was just sitting there looking out over the vast vistas of beautiful New Mexico. And this man, I saw him coming up. He started walking towards me, and this was true. This is not astral thing. He came and sat right next to me. I mean, we're talking hundreds of acres, and he sat next to me, and he said, good afternoon, and then we both sat there and looked out over the scenery for about half an hour and didn't say a word. And I could feel an energy that was being transmitted, as like I was in a soup of amazing energy. Anyway, long story short, turns out, and I didn't know this was a shaman called 𝗧cie 𝗽𝗶𝗰𝘀, and I'll never forget that name. It was a beautiful name. You can look him up. He's passed away now. But I think he gave me a transmission. I didn't know who he was, and he was friendly. He was obviously Native American, and so we were just sort of looking out over this place together. And it was shortly after that I had what I called my awakening, where I sat in meditation for 3 days. I don't know where I was until somebody came and told me I needed to eat something. But just before that was this transmission from this shaman. 𝗧cie 𝗽𝗋𝗰𝘀. So shamanism is really, I think it's going to help us, help to guide us out of this kind of a mess we're in right now, energetically.
We have to become our own shaman.
You're right.
We have to be the shaman of our family lines to help heal the ancestral traumas and curses. Now, I'm not talking about curses like, being cursed by someone, but the curses of like substance abuse, physical abuse, any kind of those things that are disempowering, that runs in families, that we can heal those in our generation, so they're never passed on to the next. And I think that's where you connect to spirit and you're able to gather that healing energy and bring it into manifest reality. But yeah, it's like when you're living in spirit, and the weirdest things will happen to you. The strangest people will come into your life. I was at the saloon in April listening to the Jukes. My friend was a drummer for that group. And this man came up to me, and it's like he was an old friend. Seriously. And we start talking about all kinds of things, from tarot to Joseph Campbell to his aunts read tea leaves. I mean, I'm pretty sure he was Irish. His accent was pretty slight, but I could tell by his word choice. And I mean, he came to me like 3 times. We danced once. We talked 3 times because it was joyous to talk to this man. It was just like talking to an old friend after so many years. And when he left, my daughter and I, he just stands there and puts his arms like this and smiles and goes, I mean, why was he there? Why was I there at the same time? Just like we all need to run into an old friend once in a while, right?
I bet. Yeah. The mysteries are endless. Yeah. I am going to have to sign off pretty soon. So I don't want to spoil the party, but what do you think?
Oh, you have to go already.
I know.
Oh,
yeah.
Man, gonna miss you.
Yeah, this is fun.
Right.
I just want to express my gratitude for having a place to talk to people, because I don't have many people to talk to in my real life situation, you know.
Yeah, I think it's important to be around like-minded people. I think it's grounding. It's helpful. I do tend to try to surround myself. We call it a sangha. It's a spiritual group of like-minded people.
I do have my Reiki group, but I only see them twice a month. So I think it's also reminds me of my profound spiritual experiences I've had, because when I was at the saloon, I had this, I don't know if it was this Irish guy or if it was my friend who played the drums. I had this incredible joy. I mean, my energy was above the heart, the crown chakra, the one above that universal love level, the level when people have near-death experiences, that's what they feel. I was feeling that. I was vibing so high that this poor Irish guy didn't know what hit him. I mean, he's, you know, I have a lot of Irish and Scottish in me, and they're very known for being very psychic people. And so it's like I'm grateful for opportunity to remind myself about some of the profound things I've experienced, because you get caught up in the day-to-day worries. I mean, I have enough of those, and you just forget about them. And it's important to remind yourself that you are more than you appear.
Absolutely. That's the whole name of the game. I think we need to get a bigger picture of who we are. We're not just these little people stuck in these reactive modes. I agree. Skook, I have really enjoyed speaking with you. This has been a wonderful opportunity. Really have enjoyed it.
We're all important. And I think we just need to remind ourselves that.
Amen. This is fun.
Man, that was a mic drop right there. You brought the audience sound. Where did that come from?
That's cute.
Wow.
Whee.
That was nice. That was nice. The whole broadcast has been very nice, very good to me and my spirit. I feel like you know, it's important to feed the spirit. So that's why I keep things positive, because it seems like positivity, even talking about the Mandela Effect, it does something to me anyway. Like if I'm feeling down, it brings me up, you know, because it's something that's going on that I don't have no idea about, or, you know, why it's happening, but it's incredible. So I'm done. I'm done, and I thank you all for being in tune with me and everybody in the chat. Buzz is here. Thank you.
All right.
Well,
And
keep thinking those good thoughts now.
Yeah.
and
Good
I think
energy.
Buzz, right. I think Buzz has something to say. Let me give me a second real quick.
Groovy.
Well, yeah.
That's an
So
old
anyway.
hippie word. I know that word.
I resemble that remark.
Yeah.
All right. So I'll reach out to y'all later. And thank you for being in tune. Skook, that was lovely. I like that. And once again, this has been an incredible discussion. And I definitely appreciate y'all for making my channel what it is or helping me to build on it. I appreciate that.
Thank you. Thank you very much. And Skook, is really a pleasure. I hope we meet again.
All right. And
in
Buzz
this
says,
lifetime and the next.
right.
Propagate that light.
And speaking of lifetime in the next, you got Patrick Roberts, our new timeline says, great stream. Thank you for being in tune.
Yeah.
And Buzzacino says, love to all. Yes, yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right. All right, y'all. Thank you. And I'll reach out to y'all later. And I appreciate your audience for listening to this too, Doro. And also Skook, I appreciate your audience for listening to us here. Thank you
Great.
for coming.
Appreciate it. Take care.
And Skyness, thank you. And Doro's out of here. Boom. And Skook says, love to all. Yep. All right, Skook, I'll check you out later. I'll reach out to you. Thanks. Peace. Yes, yes, this is us. This is us. This is what we do. You know, try to keep it real and true to the spirit, in my opinion, you know. Feed the spirit, as I always say, you know, and oh yeah, rock steady.
Propagate, this light just popped in the room, and Propagate is the one that did my intro. So
Yeah, he's a smooth brother.
yeah, he does great work. So if you guys ever need any stuff like that done, he's really good at it.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
Hi, I'm Jerry Hicks, also known as the Dark Wolf, and I'm the host of the Dark Wolf Show, and you're listening to our buddy exclusive RS.